Hello, it's Sonia here with The Pretty Stitch. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time joining me, I'm so happy to have you here. So today it's Tuesday, so that means it's Tunisian Tuesday. So for today we are going to be using an H hook or a 5mm hook, and we're doing a stitch pattern, and I'm just using this DK weight yarn that is Paint Box DK, I think it's called. And this stitch pattern would work with a variety of hook sizes and yarns, and I think it's really pretty and it's not too hard to do. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to need to chain a multiple of 4, and then you will add 3. So why don't we chain 19 as 16 times 4, or 4 times 4 is 16, and you add 3, it's 19. Alright, so I have my 19 chains here. So row 1 will be our setup row, and row 2 as well. So we are going to work in the back bump of the chain. I'm just going to turn it over and I'm going to pull up a loop. So if you've never done Tunisian crochet before, I do have a complete playlist that goes over the basics. And with Tunisian crochet, it's always worked in 2 parts, where the first part is you're putting your stitches on your hook, and then the second part of your row is taking the stitches off. So we are currently putting our stitches on our hook, and then we will take them off. So I'm just pulling up my loops here, and then I will have 19 loops on my hook. So to finish up row 1, we are going to work the return pass where we're taking the stitches off. So Tunisian crochet, the first part is often called the forward pass, so you're putting your stitches on your hook, and then the return pass is where we take them off, and that counts as 1 row. So we're going to yarn over, pull through 1 loop on our hook, and we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 for the rest of our row, and then row 1 will be all done. Alright, so we've worked row 1, so now let's begin row 2, which is another setup row. So the first 2 rows with this one they are setup rows. Okay, so we are going to work a purl stitch for our first stitch. So that yarn is in front, inserting our hook, and working the purl stitch. So if you are unfamiliar with the basic stitches, as I said before, I have a complete playlist that goes over the basics to get you started. And then you should be able to crochet whatever you want to in Tunisian crochet. Alright, so the next 3 stitches are in Tunisian simple stitch. And now we're going to work a purl stitch. And we're going to continue that across. So you're going to work 3 Tunisian simple stitches and 1 purl stitch. We're almost to the end of our row, so I'm finishing up my last 3 Tunisian simple stitches. I have a purl stitch I need to work, and then we need to finish up the row. So it looks like a chain there. You're going to insert your hook in that chain, pull up a loop, and again I should still have 19 loops on my hook. You might have a different number, but you should still always have the same amount as you chained. Alright, so let's work these off. They're going to be worked off the same as row 1. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2 for the rest of the row. Okay, so there is row 2. So row 3, we're going to start with a stitch pattern. So our first stitch is going to be a purl stitch. You always will be working on top of your purls from the previous row. So purl on top of purl. Okay, so now we're going to work in Tunisian simple, but we're going to do a big together or decrease stitch. So we're going to insert our hook in the next 3 Tunisian simple stitches, so like that, and yarn over and pull through. But we're not done because we just did a decrease and we need to put the stitches back on. So what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over, so just a simple yarn over, and we're going to go back in those 3 stitches. So you just kind of have to twist it just a little bit, insert your hook back in those 3 stitches, and yarn over and pull up a loop. So now we have worked like a twisted stitch and we have the correct number of loops on our hook. So we need to go back and work that purl stitch, and we're going to work that big decrease again. So right in those 3 loops, yarn over, pull through those 3. Now we're going to yarn over, insert our hook back into those 3 loops and pull up a loop, and we're going to purl, and we're going to repeat that across. And now we have one more purl stitch, and we have to complete the rest of the row, or the last stitch. We have to complete the row. So working in that chain, pulling up our loop, and we should still have 19 loops on our hook. So we are going to work these off the same as we did for rows 1 and 2. You just have to be a little mindful because sometimes, since these stitches are very bunched together, they kind of want to come off at the same time, which you don't want that. So yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. So here we go with that. So I'm just going to be really careful. There we go. Working them off one at a time. Okay, so rows 4 and 5, we are going to be repeating row 2. So that means we have our yarn in front, our first stitch is a purl, and we work 3 Tunisian simple. So they're kind of bunched, so you just have to be careful. So here's the first one, that's really easy to find. Then the second one, sometimes it likes to kind of hide like that, but it's there. So Tunisian simple. And then that last one, and we just repeat it across. So purl and Tunisian simple for 3. And then we work in that final stitch for our forward pass for row 4 here. And now we just work these stitches off. So yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. And then row 5 is a repeat of row 2. And then what you're going to do is you're going to be repeating rows 3 through 5 for however long you want your swatch. So right now you can't really see the stitch pattern, but as you get a couple rows in, then it'll start to pop out. They almost look like little mini cables. It's really pretty, I think. So again, we're just repeating row 2, working that purl stitch, the 3 Tunisian simple, and the purl stitch. So as I said before, you want to repeat rows 3 through 5. So it's one row with those together stitches right there, and then 2 rows of just working basic Tunisian stitches. So Tunisian simple and Tunisian purl are basic stitches. So if you know those basics, and also there's a knit stitch, if you know all those, you can kind of make whatever you want, I think. All right, and then you work your return pass. So I'm gonna go work a whole bunch more rows, because I said before, this is one you do need to get a lot of rows and to really see the stitch pattern. So I will meet you back, and then we'll do the bind off row. All right, so here is my swatch. I ended up on a row 4, and I have 19 rows. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to bind off. And I just suggest when you're working your swatch to end on a row 4, because then it'll look similar to the bottom here, and I'm just all about the symmetry. Okay, so we are going to do the bind off row. So I ended on a row 4, and I really see, now you can really see the stitch pattern. It almost looks like little baby cables. I just think it's really, really pretty, and I just really like it. I think I need to make a project with this. I'll have to come up with something, but I think it's really nice. Okay, so to bind off, we are going to work in pattern. So what I mean by that, so this first stitch is a purl, so we're going to bind off in purl, and we're going to bind off in simple in the next 3. And again, if you're unsure of what binding off is, I do have that in my Tunisian crochet playlist that goes over the basics, and plus there's lots of other things on there of patterns, other stitch pattern tutorials, so all things Tunisian crochet. And you just want to make sure when you're binding off to make sure you have a nice relaxed hand, as you don't want your bind off stitches to be too tight, because that can affect the tension of your project. All right, so we're at the end here. We're just going to work in that stitch that looks like a chain and bind off that guy. And there we go. So there is the bind off, and again, I just think it's really pretty. I made another little swatch because I was having so much fun with this, so here it is in a darker color, but you can see I only did 15 stitches with this guy, where I did 19 with that. But I think this stitch would look really nice in a variety of different projects, whether you can make a hat, a scarf, an ear warmer, a blanket, maybe a clothing item, you know, all different types of projects would work really well with this stitch pattern. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.